Could anyone tell me what they want to achieve by the end of this 45 minutes that I'm going to speak? What do you want from me? The point I'm making here, sometimes it's the resilience just to keep pushing forward. The question I had on my mind was, how do I get here? Throw the darts and hit the ball for me, please. Yeah.
From anyone? Okay. Oh, nice.
What was the point I'm making?
Can't see it.
You can't see his target. How many of you came here today without really knowing what you wanted to go away? They have some idea that they want their life to be happy, but they've never really clarified it to the point where they can see what it's going to look like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years' time. They can imagine what it's going to feel like when they've achieved these things. They can actually almost see the figures in their mind, or they can see what's going to be happening in their life. They can imagine the sort of car that they're driving and all sorts of things like that. And I'm not going to go on with the rah-rah American stuff around, oh, you've got to go goal setting, but I'll tell you one thing. If you don't start with the end in mind, you won't know the direction that you're going in, and you won't know whether you're moving off your path. The fact is, when you set off on a journey, you always know what your destination is. Even if that destination is to go round and round the mountains of Snowdonia and arrive back home, that's still a destination. How do you know whether you're on track if you haven't got the destination somewhere orientated in front of you? How do you know whether you're actually on track to know whether you're achieving step by step towards that destination? You use milestones of the car journey. You're using, am I on the right position? Am I on the right road? You may have planned it on a map, you may have looked on an internet, or you may even be using a sat-nav, but some way you are orientating yourself towards that destination. That's exactly the same for your business. Don't waste this opportunity. Take at least an hour a week and reflect back on what it is that you want to be aiming for in your business. Orientate yourself to where you want to go. Sometimes it may be hugely ambitious, and you'll get to the end of the year and think, that was ridiculous, why the hell did I set a goal like that? But it's still a desire, it's still an orientation. Adjust it slightly, change it, lower your sights a little bit, but the clarity of where you want to go enables you to set some sort of direction, and then what steps you're going to take as you move in that direction. Human beings are a lot like a machine. We all work in the context of cause and effect. Something happens which is a cause that has an effect, which is something that we recognise. And you will recognise that you don't feel good about something in your feelings. And when you understand that cause and effect relationship, you can start to do something about it. And what that means is you do something about how we think, how we orientate our thinking. So if you've got a thought in your mind that says, the economy is not helping my business at the moment, that's a belief. And that belief is born through what you see as evidence to prove that belief. It's actually focusing on what those most important activities are that are enabling your business to change or grow. So I call them these MVAs, most valuable activities. These are the activities which make a real difference in your business. When I go into organisations, it surprises me, big business, small business, public sector, whatever, it amazes me how much time people waste on low value and no value activities. Now, I have nothing against the likes of Facebook. It's a very good marketing tool. But if you spend 6 hours a night communicating just information about which pub you went to for a beer, that is not going to help your business, and it's not what I call a high value activity. If you've got the time to do that because the millions are rolling in, good luck to you. Brilliant. But I'm going to guess most of you sitting here aren't in that position. So focus your attention on the most valuable activities that are going to make a big difference in your business. Orientating themselves towards taking massive action. This is action that's going to make a difference. This is action which is taken from your most valuable activities, but doing it. Sometimes massive action means massive investment. Business is easy. That doesn't sound right when you say it like that, does it? Business is easy. Doing it is hard. Business is very easy. Business, you have outputs. Okay? What are outputs? Outputs could be your products, it could be your services, it could be happy customers. Identify what your outputs of your business are and be very clear on it. Business also has inputs. Inputs could be the money you put into it, could be the materials you might use, it could be the ideas that you put down. Whatever it is that's coming in, comes out. The big problem is this is a bit like a machine. It's a bit like a big gearbox with all these gears rotating around. And this is like a black box for some people. It just happens. But it is a process, it flows. And when it flows, you can actually understand it. What happens between here and here? You have marketing communication. Yeah? You have marketing strategy, who you're going to contact, what your customers are, what your markets are, the types of promotion that you're going to put out there. You have sales, which I imagine Dawn's going to talk about. Sales process. The sales process leads into your planning process. Your planning process leads into your operational process. Your operational process leads into some sort of evaluation or performance management of that, which means that you're orientating yourself to understand is how is that process delivering the flow of whatever it is I'm doing to come out the other end. Part of that is orientated around the leadership that you put. That's leading yourself as well as leading other people in the team. And then the final piece of the jigsaw is the financial element. How much do you understand your cash flow and what's happening there? It's just a machine. It's very easy. You have resources which enable that to happen, and if you put inputs in with the right resources, you will get the right outputs.
So, sales toolkit. We talk about selling as being a recipe, and you have to have all of those elements for that recipe in order to get the finished product, the cake or whatever it is that you're making. The number one reason that businesses fail is due to lack of sales. It's not the only reason, but it is the number one reason that businesses fail, and it is lack of sales. We've got to make sure that people see the value immediately in what we are selling, because today's buyer really is more discerning than ever. They ask more sophisticated questions. But the thing that kills a sale is fear. And they say the only thing to fear is fear itself, but we would like to add to that and a sales rep. Because we do think that when somebody sees a sales rep running towards them, that they get a little bit frightened by that. And making your product as attractive as it can be. People can only get as passionate about your product as you are. If you walk in and go, "What, buy any of this?" What do you think people are going to say? "Oh, really?" You know, they can only believe in your products as much as you believe in it, and they can only get as excited about it as you are. You know, some of the things I say is that you've got to love the business to do the business. You know, comfy is not a fashion. A conversion rate that we find is quite common is that people are able to convert 1 in 5, and it's because they probably only match up in style with one of the buyer types that there are in the world. So these are analytical, self-actualizing, entrepreneurial, relationship, and apathetic. And these people all have different reasons for buying your product. So if your features are all about return on investment, proof, stats, that's fantastic, but you're probably not going to be able to sell successfully to somebody that is a relationship buyer that bases their buying decisions on the impact it has on people, improvements that it will make to people. So you normally find that you don't mesh up that buying and selling technique because you're selling the way you want to sell and it's not the way that person wants to buy. So the more features and benefits that you can get out, then the more chance you have of pushing that hot button, that buying button, that the buyer that is in front of you at that moment in time has. One thing you've got to be really, really careful of though, is that you can feature dump. Has anybody heard of feature dumping before?
I heard about it last Thursday.
Oh, did you? You must have been in that excellent training. So, the thing with feature dumping is it's like I've just said, when we're beating the customer to the wall with all the fantastic things that our product does, and they don't really need to know half of it. And the problem with feature dumping is at some point the customer starts to think, hang on a minute, am I paying for stuff now that I don't really need? Can you see how that could happen if you start going on and on and on about all the things it does? So if somebody wants to buy a pair of sunglasses, do they really care it's got a comb and a pair of scissors on it? Not really. So you've got to think, what is important to you, and then talk about that point. What we do to grab attention, one of the things that we do is we talk about writing a mini advert about ourselves. So this is, if you had a piece of paper, if you had a space there, in that paper, you wouldn't say how long you'd been based somewhere and how many employees you had, would you? What would you say?
Straight to what you can do.
Yeah, you would say, this is why you need to speak to me, this is what I do. So if I introduce myself, I'll say, my name's Dawn, I'm from Outperform Training. I don't need to say limited company and all of that sort of stuff at the end because it's just extra words. And then I would say, we are the leading providers of funded sales training in Wales. So there's key things in there, isn't there? The key thing which we make people do that, first of all, is funded. Leading Wales. So once you've grabbed their attention, then you've got to move on a bit, haven't you? You've got to move on with the sale. You've got to think, right, now I need to find out, do they want it? Do they need it? Can they afford it? Do they like it? Do they like me? So you've got to think now about how do I go on to discover some needs about that customer. So you've got to think, what is the point of difference between you and your competitors? A big part of the toolkit is that we will look at competitors about how you beat them. What's better than you about competitors? Because I'm telling you now, the buyers will have looked at it. And then you have to close the sale, and closing the sale is when you actually ask for the sale, and it's a part of the sale that's very difficult for people. It's a bit of a going over the, getting over that bump in the road where you're actually having to ask for something, but you do. We have loads of people that do all of the process really fantastically, and then we say, so when are they buying it then? Have you got a cheque? And they go, oh no, felt a bit funny asking for a cheque. You know, so a sale isn't a sale until the money's in the till, doesn't matter how fantastic your process is. So selling is a recipe. You have to make sure that you include all those elements. You can shortchange some of them, absolutely you can shortchange them, but don't expect to get a perfect cake at the end of it. And by cake I mean sale. So happy selling to everybody. Enjoy the rest of Anglesey Business Week, and it was lovely to come and see you.